Vote to approve the minutes from the June 17th special session meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Mail, appointment of Fayette County Housing Authority.
Mr. Rose mentioned that he wanted to be here today.
He's here.
Do you want to address council regarding this appointment?
All we need is approval from the council appointing two names that you have for another term.
Everybody a copy of the letter. It says, to whom it may concern, Tim Rose and Carolyn Spurlock, Board Commissioner. Terms expire on August 1st, 2015. Mr. Rose and Mrs. Spurlock would like to continue in positions with the Fayette County Housing Authority Board. It is the recommendation of FCHA to renew these terms. Please forward the minutes from the meeting for proof of approval. Thank you for your time, Amanda Caldwell, Executive Director.
I'll make a motion we renew these terms.
How long is the term?
4 years.
Second. We have a motion, it's been seconded. No, Mr. Settle did. Is there any discussion on this? Okay, if not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you. Okay. Next piece of mail is from 911, an audit.
Good evening. My apologies that I did not make you guys a copy of this letter. I did for the commissioners this morning, but I can pass this down if you want to look at it.
We all have copies.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, we do.
Way to go, auditor's office. What it was is basically we received a letter from the statewide 911 board. They did their audit along with the State Board of Accounts. The State Board of Accounts identifies different items as being eligible out of the surcharge money that the State 911 Board approves. So basically, those two come together. The statewide board, if you look at the letter, it sounds really terrible, but it's not like it sounds. You can see where they identified items that were not covered by the wireless money. Those items are covered by the city's contributions, not the wireless monies. That's what we use to do that. Counter surcharge money to do as well, including the salaries. So I talked to Mr. Strong about it too today. And I talked to Nancy in the auditor's office, and we're currently working on getting two separate budgets for that. The $5,900 has already been replenished. The city actually made their contribution payment today. So I scanned it, emailed that to the state board. They've got it. We're all in the clear. Like I said, the letter sounds way worse than what it is. Lots of counties do this. A lot of counties got the letter as well. So, but I just, unlike Gertrude, it felt like it needed an explanation because it really sounds terrible. So.
Well, Terry, if I remember right, it was the state that caused us to commingle
Yes.
both incomes to begin with.
Yes.
They made us do that,
Yes.
and now they're telling us that's wrong.
Yes. Yes.
So
You're right.
someone in Indianapolis decided they got to justify their existence by changing the rules again.
Yeah. Pretty much. You're putting it much more bluntly than what I do. But yeah.
They're probably not listening, so.
Well, out of the 92 counties, I know that Laurel had a stack. So, and we had discussed this the Friday when I went up to their meeting and stuff, and she's, Terry, it looks worse than what it is, but it's, we're not the only county. So, and it can be easily rectified, so then we don't get a nasty letter like this again. But we were not the only county, and there's lots of counties that do exactly what we do, so. But we will have a solution, and like I said, what we're going to do is put everything that can be taken out of that surcharge money into one budget and include the city's contributions in another. But there will be lots of transfers.
We'll just basically go back to the way we were doing
Yeah.
things before.
Yeah, pretty much, so.
Is a landline separate?
No, it's all one thing now. The state takes all of the surcharge money, and that's what we get it's like the $24,000 every year, or every month. And then, like I said, with the new bill, like I was talking about in a special session, how we're probably going to get a couple of extra checks. Just determines on how much revenue is created by the increase of the surcharge money, so it's going to be a headache, so.
To be able to convince the new trustee account for him. It's not your guys' responsibility.
Okay.
And besides that, I don't believe I have anything right now, but do you want me to bring that up now or wait down?
On Kathy Rhodes is here. We'll wait till she gets up. If we need to talk about that, we'll talk about it then.
Okay, now I don't have anything else unless somebody has a question they think I need to answer right now.
So we're not responsible for the trustees situation.
No, basically they have to fund, they make a budget and they have to fund their pay.
Yeah.
And he didn't do that.
As far as I know, there's no precedent for a county council ever subsidizing the township trustees.
Well, they have their own budget,
Sure.
and it's not under your jurisdiction, I guess is the way to put it. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's too bad. But I mean, they needed to do their budget correctly when it happened. So I guess we could tell all the other trustees to make sure that they allocate their funds to pay themselves.
So was that 2 years worth, or was that a year's worth?
It was
I don't remember.
15 months.
15 months.
It's unfortunate. Anything else?
No, I mean, I can follow up, but I mean, it's not going to help.
Maybe around the 12th and 13th, however long it's necessary.
August 11th, you said?
That's the first day, yes.
What time?
9 a.m.
Time.
And if I can just add a comment onto this.
I know that's an extremely controversial issue. I'll answer any questions now. I understand it doesn't affect this body, but out of respect for what's going on in the county and understanding what we're doing and why, I'll be glad to answer any questions. If not, that's fine.
I got some questions,
Yes,
not
sir.
about that, a couple other questions. 2 months ago, I asked about the, getting a program, a 2 or 3 year program of road updating in the county. And I haven't heard anything yet. And also the pug mill, about what it would take to get that up and operational again. Because I know they've been patching roads in the county. It looks like they're doing a good job, but they're using hot mix, which I believe is more expensive than, you know, the pug mix.
Your first question, as you know, our highway superintendent's been
Right.
ill, so we have an interim who was the former, as you will know.
Sure.
So there's been a little bit of interruption there. I've had illness in my family, so I've been
Okay.
kind of out of place for a couple 3 weeks. Jay did talk to us this morning. He said the rain has been a big impediment, which I think it has for everybody. If you look at my yard, that'll be pretty much a testament to that. Having said that, he brought us some information today. As you know, we get our oil and stuff from Union County. We're spending about $7,000 a year, manpower, mileage, et cetera, going to and from Union County. We have the possibility to put our own tank down there, but tank and construction and all of the safety features is about $52,000. So that's not something we want to do right now. It will save us money, but you're going to take several years to recoup that money. As far as the pug mill, I have not addressed that, and that's my fault. I simply forgot about it, to be honest with you.
Okay, so you got it on your agenda.
Yes.
Okay. And last question, in the last month and a half, I've been by the highway garage in the evening, and I noticed vehicles parked inside the building that was condemned by the commissioners.
Should not have been.
There are. I've
Well-
seen the road grader, 2 dump trucks and a pickup in one evening, and I've seen 2 dump trucks several times. So as Mr. LaPel told us, if that thing comes down, that's all that falls back on us, so I think that we ought to be abandoning that thing unless you change your minds about the condition.
We have not changed our mind.
Okay.
It was understood that nothing should be parked in there, and I will take care of that tomorrow.
And somebody told me about it, so I went down there and they were been parked in there.
Frank, I went before the meeting tonight, and there's 2 of our new dump trucks parked in there, backed in.
I will take care of that.
Okay.
Just along that line, our building's basically done.
Okay.
We've got some air lines that need to be installed, and Jay brought us some estimates for that this morning. The existing contractor has equipment in place to do it. He can switch monies within his budget to take care of that. We will announce a formal opening, I guess, for county officials and the public if they wanted to come down and look at it.
Okay.
And, but it's, for all intents and purposes, it is done.
Okay.
And under budget, a little bit. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you. I see we have our EDG director here, Mr. Parker. Take it you have something for the council?
Good evening. Just a short report. I know it looks like a lot on the page that I gave you, but I just want to hit the parts that I have put in bold print. Specifically, I'd like to mention and kind of make it available for the people listening as well as the county council regarding our initiative in the ACT Work Ready Community. As you know, the Work Ready Community certification helps economic development with accurate analysis of our workforce. It helps us compare workforces apples to apples with communities of equal size. Fayette County is the 6th county in Indiana to participate in the ACT Certified Work Ready Communities Initiative. The other counties are Rush, Wayne, Henry, Delaware, and Randolph. And Rush and Randolph have already completed their goals and are now colored gold on the ACT Work Ready Community National Map. And regarding our county and our goals, as of today, Fayette County has achieved 3 of the 4 goals. Emerging and current workforce, as well as supporting employers. Where we lack, we need 51 transitioning workforce individuals for Fayette County to go gold on the national map. The other thing I'd like to talk to you about and report on is our progress in the Regional Planning Commission, or as some call it, a Regional Planning District, that we've been working on. There are 5 counties that are supporting this, Fayette, Randolph, Rush, Union, and Wayne. And we've, all the counties have provided letters of support plus resolutions from the commissioners asking Governor Pence to authorize our planning commission's formation. Each planning commission must have a CEDS plan, and that acronym, that CEDS, is a comprehensive economic development strategy. We're also involved with Stronger Economies Together, which the acronym SET program, which is part of the Department of Agriculture. Purdue receives a grant from the U.S. Department of Agriculture as a contracted agent to help in the planning process through the SET program with the 5 counties so that we can create this CEDS plan for the region, which Fayette County will be a part of, which will allow us to get EDA funds for projects that come up in the region. The other stuff that's not bolded is just for your information that talks about the ACT Work Ready Community Initiative and some of the facts and strong points that really led us into it. Certainly it's one of the things that site selectors look at. One of the biggest deficiencies in the state of Indiana is workforce. We have a deficiency in well-educated, well-skilled individuals who want to work. And so this program helps us to bridge the gap between those that don't have the skills and those that would like to have it. Any questions for me? Yes.
Couple questions. The SEDS plan that each of the, regional planning commissions must have a SEDS for each of the counties?
The way I get it, I don't know that it's for the counties as much as it is for the region. We have to have a comprehensive plan going forward, and that's what Purdue is helping us create.
Well, and maybe I'm confusing it with something else, but I was thinking, and perhaps Diana can help with, that there was, in order to get in the next book, or what have you, of the last one of the region, that we could have our list of things to do, even though we were not formally yet a part of that group. And so that we actually had, or there was a list of...
Fayette County had a comprehensive plan.
Right.
I think in 2012, as I recall, or 2009. Yeah, one of those years. It predates me.
But I understood that it was updated to go into the newer group. I mean, I know we had a comprehensive plan back there, and I'm not certain when Fayette County came out of the group.
I'm not either.
But I would be interested in seeing that, and the...
Well, as we've got individuals in the SET program, and we're going to get more individuals. Community support in this SET program is very important. We've got 3 people in it now, and we're going to be asking for more. Each of the counties are going to be asking for more to really have the community embrace this as we go forward. It's not just another box to check to say, oh, great, we're in a regional planning district. There are really some benefits that come from that. If you just go north on 3 in Rushville and take a look at that 84-acre industrial park that they're putting up, that was EDA money. And I'd love to see Fayette County have at least as good, if not better. Any other questions for me? Thank you for your time. I appreciate your support.
Thank you. We have no old business that I'm aware of, so with that, we'll move on to new business. Achieva funding request.
Hi, I'm Dan Stewart, the director of Achieva.
Just the time to repeat your name again, please.
I'm Dan Stewart. I'm the CEO of Achieva Resources. I apologize for my voice. I've been sick for the last 3 weeks and I just got back to work yesterday. I have a letter that I would like to pass for the council. I also have a support letter that is from Judge Freed. I also have a third letter from our judge advocate, who is Judge Horn in Wayne County. And then I also have a copy of our guardianship brochure. Just briefly, a little history of our program. Many of you know we started out as Wayne County Council for Retarded Citizens, Inc. 58 years ago. And we have been providing rehabilitation services in Wayne Union and Fayette counties to people with intellectual developmental disabilities and children for many, many years. About 5 years ago, there was a group of judges and families and providers came together and said there was a real need in the 3 counties about guardianships, and that there were a lot of folks who were disabled, had no family members, could not give consent for health care, or individuals had family members who couldn't or won't want to assist these people. At that point in time, we got together a little over 5 years ago with the judges and Adult Protective Services and County Commission and Council and all the 3 counties, and we talked about how we might be able to start this program. A little over 3 years ago, we applied, and fortunately, because of the support of the judges in those 3 counties, they advocated to have a guardianship program. We were selected, and in the initial selection, we were one of 10 Supreme Court funded programs. It is now down to 8, 2 have dropped out. Our counties are Wayne, Union, and Fayette. When we get a guardianship, we go to the judges, and we will take a petition and an order and a request and a physician statement telling them what this person really needs. And our program really has 3 goals. For a person that can't give consent, we want them living in a safe place. We want them to have quality health care services and supports. And the toughest one to believe is we want them to be happy. And you can imagine sometimes if you have a person with a disability or an older adult and they're coming out of their house because they're falling, they've got serious medical issues, they have no one to care for them. We come and we get that guardianship, and we may place them in a nursing home, we may place them in a group home, or we may place them in a supported living home. And I wanted to mention that it is an economic impact to your community. For the individuals that we have in supported living and group homes, just about each person, there's about 4 to 5 staff members that are employed to care for that person. And that money comes out of a Medicaid waiver budget, or it comes out of a Board of Health budget from the state. And then the others that we're placing in the nursing homes, most are Medicaid reliant. A few are under a private pay where they have the assets and the resources. We've gotten tremendous support from your judges here. The letter from Judge Horn, in our 2nd year of funding, we were told that we had to get a judge advocate to coordinate the services for all of our programs. And that was the year that we were required to have county support. So you have provided support for us the last 2 years, and a year ago I wrote you a letter, and I told you that we would never ask you for more than $12,000. A year ago we received 10. This year we're coming back and asking for 11, and I still promise that we would never ask you for more than 12. With the funds from Wayne and Union and Fayette, that meets about 75% of our match requirement for our grant. And then our board of directors and our operating expenses are putting up just under $10,000 to meet that. We have submitted our grant to the Supreme Court, and the problem we have is their fiscal year is July 1 to June 30th. You guys certainly are January through the end of the year. So we are coming back. We have until October to get a commitment from the 3 counties to support our program. If we don't come up with a match, our program could go away. The Supreme Court grant this year is $100,000, and that is an increase from $76,500 a year ago. 50% is cash from the Supreme Court, and the other 50% is the funds from our counties and the resources that our board commits. In addition, I'm constantly writing grants. I just received a grant to support our program from the Anthony Wayne Foundation in Fort Wayne for $39,900. Those funds will come in August. We have written a grant to the Reed Hospital Foundation, and that grant is just under $50,000 for an additional year of funding, and that is to help our operations so that we can grow and continue. In my letter, I've talked to you about the last year and a half, since beginning, we've served 150 people in guardianships, and in the last 24 months, 18 to 24 months, 24 people have expired or passed away. One of the unique things we have with our judges is they want us to make sure that these people have a quality end of life. So if I have them in a nursing home or we're going to a hospital, certainly our decisions are to deal with hospice, palliative care. We don't want anyone to die in pain. And then our judges are working with us so that we can work through the Medicaid program, or if they have resources. Some have funeral trusts. Some have other family members that have set aside a grave for them, but it may again require Medicaid. So we do all of that so that there is not one of these people that have passed away that has not had a dignified funeral in the last 24 months. Sometimes it's Dan, Angie, and Carol, my 3 staff, and the funeral director. But I can assure you that I'm never going to ever let that happen. They're not going to go in a pine box and be buried as we did 50, 60 years ago when these people didn't have this kind of resource. We desperately need your support. We're doing so much, and I know you've seen Judge Freed's letter. I know I asked Judge Butch, and she said she wanted to be here tonight and specifically speak to you about our program. So I might turn it over to the 2 of them for a moment, and then if you have questions of me, I would be glad to answer that.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm here anyway because I've asked for an additional appropriation, but I told Dan that I would be present. I guess I've dealt with him longer than Judge Freed, and the first time I ever spoke to Dan, it was when I had not been on the bench very long, and someone he's describing required an emergency surgery. And so I had to meet with him and do an emergency guardianship so that they didn't die. So that's the kind of situation that we're dealing with. But it has been my attempt or goal since I've taken the bench to try to have our county participate in the share of monies that are available, grants and things from the state. There's a lot of money that filters down through the state, but you have to apply, you have to go out and look for it. And although the county does have to put forward some money for the program, there's a lot more money that comes down through the program from the state grants. It's one of those necessary things. I mean, the way you treat the most weak, vulnerable citizens of the community says something about the civilization of the community, and it's just something that's needed because these people don't have anybody to look out for them. And so there is a lot of money that comes through the Supreme Court program, and I can just tell you that with these guardianships, you need something like that. That's been my experience so far. And Dan has already met with Judge Freed as well, and he's going to be handling the bulk of the guardianships now. That's something we've done to even out our caseload. So, did you want to say?
Yeah, I just want to certainly concur that this is a great program at $11,000 out of pocket for us. I understand that's a significant amount of money under the current fiscal circumstances. But as Judge said, this really represents the best of what local government is about. The people we're talking about here are blameless. This is not a welfare program where often we may criticize that someone's taking advantage of the system and half the money we spend on it's not going for wholesome purposes. 100% of this is going for things that you would agree with. If you looked at every single one of these cases, you would agree that this was a good money expended, I assure you. This is, the members may not know, but this is a little bit personal for me because although my mother doesn't live in this county, she has early onset Alzheimer's. She's 68 years old, and I think of her when I see Dan. Okay, because she has two sons, and luckily my father is still living and in good health to take care of her. But what if she didn't? She's the type of person who might be protected by this. The person like that, who is blameless and helpless later in life, that really strikes home for me personally. And I assure you that none of this money, 0% of this money, is being wasted on something that's frivolous. This is all very weighty, important stuff.
Just share with you too, and thank you both. And we have 3 staff doing this. We're on call 24/7, 365. I personally average, and this will blow you away, 200 contact phone calls a week. And these are calls such as, "Hi Dan, I just wanted to tell you that Mary Jones is having therapy changes," or "Mary had a medication change," or "Mary fell." The bad ones are, "Mary fell and broke her hip, Dan, and we've got to send her to Fayette Memorial Hospital, and you need to either get here or you need to give consent for surgery." The bad ones are, "They've died." The harder ones are the ones where I've had to turn the plug off 5 times now in 3 years. And I rely totally on the medical community, the nurses, and then certainly we make that final decision. But as I said, 80% of the people we serve have nobody. And we are their family, we are their supports. People ask, what do we charge? For our people that are on Medicaid and we get approved through the courts, we bill $35 a month. For people that have resources, we bill $50 an hour. And if that's an estate, a home, dealing with selling property, and if Dan and Angie and Carol are working together in that home and we're cleaning or doing whatever, it's $50 an hour. It's not $150. So we're really fair with the families. And we are so blessed that the Supreme Court funded us. We're one of 8 in the state. My program director, Angela Blevins, went and got her National Guardianship Certification. It is a test that is as tough as getting a law degree. And she passed it the first time, and 80% of the people that take that exam the first time fail. So now I have National Certified Guardian. We're members of the state and the National Association. All three of us maintain our credentials and our certifications. And I have to say, I've been in this business 44 years, 42 in Indiana. I've been at Achieva 18 years. This is by far the most self-satisfying thing we do. And we do a lot of other stuff. We're doing advocacy training. We've got a children's program for kids 0 to 6 that have delays or disabilities. And then we're doing all of our other training components and supporting the people in Wayne Union and Fayette County with disabilities. So we're doing a lot. And we did a lot this year in working with the legislature to get that funding increase from $1 to $2 million. And that certainly helped us get that extra funds if we get the county monies. If we don't get the county monies, we'll lose the grant. So with that, I would answer any questions that any of you may have. And I really appreciate the support that you've given us in the past.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Stewart?
Mr. Stewart,
Yes, sir.
how many, could you tell us how many Fayette County residents are currently being
Currently, we have
served?
6 individuals that are active. We've had 3 people pass away, and we are working on 3 petitions to take to the court as I speak. And we're dealing, in the last 2 years, we've dealt with over 15 families that have come to us and said, would you help us? We want to get guardianships. So we teach them the entire process. They can then go hire a lawyer. They could come to the courts on their own. Some people go after and get powers of attorney. Some people go after and actually get the guardianship. So we're helping families do that. And there's been over 24 of those in the last 2 years that we've helped here in your community.
Okay, so you say currently there's 6.
Currently we have 6.
That's under active. He's talking about under active guardianship right now.
Active guardianship.
Sounds like you're gonna have 9 in a few
You're gonna have
days.
9 within 10 days probably.
Mr. Strong, just to give you an idea of the potential in this county, there's approximately 1,600 people that live in Fayette County that have developmental, intellectual disabilities or older folks who have dementia, Alzheimer's, et cetera, and these are statistics from the Bureau of Developmental Disability Services through Family Social Services. We know for a fact that 50% of those folks have nobody. Now, I'm constantly dealing with the nursing homes, the other providers in the community. I had a really long talk tonight with Joni Howell over at Lincoln Center. And Joni said to me tonight, Dan, I have 3 more people for you. 2 have just come in. You know, do you have time next week to come and visit me? Right now in Wayne County, we have 19 referrals that are in the works to go to the courts, and 1 in Union County. So, while Wayne County is certainly our largest, that's where our biggest base has been. But I also have individuals now living in 9 other counties, and here's how that works. If we get a guardianship in Wayne Union or Fayette, and because of medical, physical, psychiatric issues, they have to move, we get a court order and we've had to take people to Madison State Hospital or another institution, we can keep those guardianships. So right now I have people living in 2 counties in southern Indiana. I have people in Henry County, Randolph County, Wayne County, and Marion County. And these are people that we originally got from here. And they have moved because of, mainly it's mental health issues. They have some really serious mental health problems. One other thing I'll share with you too is that we are trying to get volunteer advocates to work with each of the people that we are a ward of. To become a volunteer, pass a criminal background check, we have a training program, and we ask that volunteer to go visit that person 4 hours a month at a minimum. Become their friend. It's the toughest thing that I've had to do. Currently, we have almost 70 people under guardianship, and I have 7 volunteers. I've had a couple leave. This is our drive this year, is to really push to get more people to go visit them and become their friend. You don't take them out. Go read the newspaper with them. You know, go talk to them. And of the 7 volunteers that I have right now, I know they're averaging over 10 hours a month. And you can imagine if you have nobody and that person goes and visits, you know, that's another piece of the puzzle. Of the group that I have now, roughly 70, there are 10 people that I say are of danger to themselves and others. I am their volunteer advocate. 6'7", 260. I'm not too much to mess with sometimes, but seriously. These people are really sick. and they are dangerous, and they can hurt people. I would never send a volunteer to do that. So I visit them. I guarantee you, at least once every 2 months. The more profound ones, I'm there at least once a month. I spend a lot of weekends traveling around, going to those nursing homes and going to those facilities, but that's what I do and that's what I love. And I'm going to do this for a couple more years. And our board has a really good plan for a succession for me. And again, I can't tell you how much we appreciate your support. And the potential in this community just depends when that happens. Tomorrow, many of you know Pat Masters, the Adult Services Protector, the APS Director. I get about half of my referrals from Pat. Pat's going visiting adults. I know he took a visit here today on an older lady that is 93 years of age. And she has nobody, and she wouldn't let him in his house, and she fell, and she's been back and forth to the hospital and nursing home. And there's a potential referral for us. I got a phone call from a gentleman in Missouri who has a mother here living in the community, and they have resources. But he said, Dan, I'm 12 hours away, and I'm the only son. Might you help us with guardianship? And we'll set up a trusteeship for my mother. And I said, sure. And we have a couple of elder law attorneys that we work with, and we can make that referral to them and see if they can help that family. And then we're willing to take that guardianship under our wings to monitor their health, welfare, and dealing with the families and doing what their choices are. When you have a family, we sit down at the table and we put all those choices together and we follow what those are. But I've always said to the families, the end decision is ours once we get the guardianship. But I hope we never get there. And in the 5 years I've been doing it, and 3 years intensively, we've never had one. The last thing I will say, recently with Judge Freed, we had a horrible situation here in this community with a lady that's in her 80 years of age. And Judge literally saved this lady's life by giving her this guardianship to Achieva and putting protective orders out against her family who were abusing, neglecting, and stealing from her. And I can tell you this, she's in a safe place in this community, and she's a happy lady. And when I leave here, I'm going to see her. And if it wasn't for him, God knows what would have happened to her, because it was really, really bad as recently as 4 months ago. And I really thank them for that. Both of the judges have really saved people's lives because of what we're doing.
Jeremy, you talked just a little bit about the oversight, real quickly, about the oversight on the financial side. How you're overseen by the courts, and you have to...
Judge Horn is our judge advocate, and what we've agreed, Wayne County, the Wayne County Council Commission have agreed to include the Supreme Court budget and any of the match funds. That goes into his budget in Wayne County. So you will write a check to us, and that counts towards our match. That doesn't go into his funds, but it counts. And we're responsible to the Supreme Court for reporting for that. We have 2 visits a year, and then we have a physical audit, and then Brady Ware did our audit last year. And forever. Our audits have been clean, and then Judge Horn signs off on that responsibility. I always tease him, he goes, Dan, I'm willing to stick my neck out, but you're the person that has to be responsible, make sure that this runs appropriately, you're following all the guidelines. And we do get a visit 2 or 3 times a year from Erica Costello, who is the Supreme Court advocate attorney that oversees that program. And we have had nothing but flying colors and evaluations in the last 3 years of our program. And we're excited now that we're going to get a little more money if we can get our county matches and go from there.
So, gentlemen, the point is we're not trading in a problematic family member who's ripping someone off and giving the person's finance and well-being over to some rogue company that might be ripping them off too. I assure you that's not happening. They're overseen by me, and then they're overseen by Judge Horn, who you may not know, but is well known in the bench and bar as one of the most reliable judges anywhere in the state. Very well-respected man. And then he is even overseen by the Supreme Court's finance director. So he is overseen to the extreme. There's no shenanigans going on here. You can rest assured that these people are being removed from bad situations and put in a very, very reliable, checked system.
I would just mention one case. The largest estate we've dealt with, the gentleman had no family. He was around 90 years of age when he had fallen, and he was taking his clothes off walking in Richmond, and the police picked him up and we got a phone call. Long story short, Kenny had $1.7 million in one of the banks in Richmond. And the man worked as a coal miner, and he worked at RP&L his whole life, and he saved everything. And, you know, when the bank was the trustee for Kenny, and when he died, he had a will, and his will was, I want to give everything I have left, minus these expenses, to St. Jude's Cripples Children's Hospital. That money has still not gone. We're still in, he's been deceased now about a year. You can imagine in the state and all the planning and everything, but on his dying bed, he said to Angie and I and the lawyer working with him, you please take that check to St. Jude's. I'm relishing the opportunity to take that down there and make his final wish the true thing. The total amount of funds we spent with him and working him with 2 years was about $8,000 is what we billed to support him. And that's one of the largest fees that we had. And that goes back to that $50 an hour and managing his funds and doing those kind of things. So we do generate some revenues through our fees and our Medicaid. But that's just one example of what we were managing. And certainly many of my budgets have been much, much larger than that. But I take serious responsibility if it's $1 or if it's at $1.7 million. I thank you. I don't know if you have any other questions. You know, we would greatly appreciate your support. You know, if we could get a letter from you. I realize your funding is January. I don't care about getting the money till January. But if you would commit to us that will get us with the other 2 counties. And I'm doing the same thing with Wayne. I've already heard from Union, and they are going to support us. So thank you, and I don't know if you had any other questions. I really appreciate your time. I know I've taken a lot of your time this evening. You have a lot of other more important things to do and deal with us, but we think we're doing some really good for the people with the greatest need in your community.
Mr. Stewart, what kind of a deadline, timeline are you working on, did you say? Or your...
A letter from the Supreme Court said that I need to have a letter from the counties by October 1st.
October 1st?
Yes.
Okay. You came in here to talk about this just in time.
And I actually just got that letter, Mr. Strong, 2 days ago. It came on Monday and told us what that deadline was.
Yeah. Okay. Our budget hearings are next month, you know.
Correct.
So there's no doubt where the decision will be made. I don't think we're prepared to make any kind of a commitment or decision on this right here tonight.
I understand that.
But our budget hearings are next month, and that's the appropriate time and place to put something like this together. And we've been supporting Achieva for I don't know how many years.
Long time.
It's not at this the level you're requesting, but you certainly have did a good job of pulling the curtain back on a part of our society that most people never see.
Thank you.
And most people don't know, have never heard of Achieva, and very few know what Achieva does. You've done a very good job of revealing something that very few people get to see. And
we're working hard, and you know, we deal with about 3,000 people a year in these counties under all our umbrellas and advocacy and support. So we're doing a lot. You know, the guardianship program has certainly become a big piece because of the need, and the need is huge.
do you think that the general aging of the population, as baby boomers begin to enter old age, that the need for these services is going to increase?
I'll preface it this way. If you look at people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, when I started in this business in 1970, the average life expectancy of somebody with Down syndrome was 35 years of age. Today I've got a 94-year-old living in one of our group homes. Medical intervention, you know, technology, you know, food, just everything. But as this population has aged, and those with intellectual developmental disabilities who are now 50, 60, 70 years old, they don't have anybody. And that's where one of the big needs is. When I mentioned to you the 50% figure, there's 19,000 people in the state of Indiana on Medicaid waivers, people with intellectual developmental disabilities. About 51% have no family. So when they get to a point where they get sick, that's where the real issue is. Right now they may say, I'm fine, I'm healthy. But all of a sudden they have a heart attack. You know, we get the phone call and the person collapses at the convenience store, and I get a phone call from the surgeon saying, Dan, if Billy does not get heart surgery in the next 12 hours, he's dead. You know, I'm running to Judge Horn begging for an immediate temporary guardianship. He gives it to me. I'm going to Reed Hospital. They're wheeling him in. He's still alive today. You know, when he was fine, everything was good. But when they get sick, they can't give consent for themselves because of their disability. They're adjudicated by Indiana law as an incapacitated adult. So then they need somebody to do that. If not, do they get care? Sure. But it's basic stuff. And some go and die. That's what we're preventing. And that need is going to become greater. Absolutely. Especially with that population and as our older adults with dementia and Alzheimer's. We're fortunate. A lot of these nursing homes, they have families. And if you go in your community here, and certainly with Lincoln Center and Heritage House, I can tell you there's a lot of folks in those two nursing homes that have nobody. But we're getting to the point when they're going to need somebody, and that's why we're here. And these wonderful judges get us through that gate pretty quick. I hope that answers your question.
I totally understand. I don't have any other questions.
I just have one final thing. I want to thank you and applaud you for your efforts and what you do. I've gone through this with my mother recently, and I was able to secure some rights for her because, as you mentioned, everything was going along fine with her until she took a fall in October. And suddenly, she became incapacitated, and our worlds were turned upside down. So I appreciate what you're doing, and obviously you're very passionate about it. I can see it in your face, and I think that's very commendable, and I appreciate that, and I applaud you for your
I love what I
efforts.
do. I really mean that.
And that's
We
makes a
care,
difference.
and that's what this whole thing's about. And, if we can help people, what we're doing is giving them a better end quality of life or improving their quality of life, and that's what this whole thing's all about.
And then one final thing, I want to disagree with Judge Freed. I think we got the two finest judges here in our county. Sorry.
I don't disagree with that. Thank you all very much. Do I need to stay or may I go?
You can, no, you can go.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, judges. Appreciate it.
Well, I don't know if this is planned, but we're going from Achieva to the Cemetery Commission. Probably should have had a little bit of space between that.
We're not going to bury anybody. Thank you for having me tonight. Good evening. In March of this year, the Cemetery Commission went to the council and to the commissioners to request funds to take care of our pioneer cemeteries. From the commissioners, we were told there was no money in the budget for us, and they gave us their blessing to go out and get donations, get fundraisers to raise money to take care of the cemeteries. When we met with the council and told them the position, they said that there wasn't any money in the budget, but if we came back after the spring draw, that they might be able to help us out a little bit. We had a fundraiser with the VFW, and they raised for us in one day's time $1,359. There were some very hard workers there. They worked to support us. It was a very fun evening. They had a dinner, they had a bike run, and just things happening all evening at the VFW. The following weekend, the VFW had sponsored a workshop for us in Mount Zion Cemetery, and thanks to them coordinating that, the fundraiser helped us have the money on hand to pay our workshop instructor, and then the people who paid for the workshop, we was able to reimburse all of our expenses back to the VFW, so we did start out with $1,359 and some odd cents. What we're asking for tonight is if the council would approve to match that amount to take care of the mileage it takes for us to take care of the cemeteries. We're only asking for 30 cents a mile, a lot less than what the state provides or pays for reimbursement, because all we're asking for is to pay for the gas that we actually expend to go to these cemeteries. If we were able to get the $1,359, that would cover 4,530 miles for care for our cemeteries this summer. Up to this point, since April 1st, the combined of all of our board members, we have approximately 1,000 miles already documented for care of the cemeteries. The money that the VFW raised, they have been buying us supplies and equipment, paying for the gas for our mowers and weed eaters and our twine and all the supplies that we need. As we need things, we tell them, they buy it, and then we keep a list of that. So what we're requesting is that if you could possibly see to give us a matching fund to take care of our reimbursement for mileage. I had brought up before that there are other places, because there was questions with volunteers getting paid mileage. And I had given you a copy of this in the meeting before, but I'll bring it back up. Franklin County Cemetery Commission, in their budget, they included travel for care. LaPorte County Pioneer Cemetery Commission, they included mileage in their budget for their cemetery commission. Jay County Cemetery also included money in their budget. There's other things that do it. There's a newspaper that pays volunteers. There's places that take care of senior centers and stuff. They pay them, reimburse mileage for taking meals to people and that type of thing. So people who volunteer do get reimbursed for mileage. And we would appreciate it very much if you could see us through and help us with that this year.
Cindy, isn't there, I guess it's to Frank too, isn't there any money in the cemetery for these people? I mean, I know we have a tax draw, so where is all that money?
The 2 years ago, Russ, our levy for that particular fund, for the cemetery fund, was given the leeway here, about $42,000. That's this year was $26,000. And I just got through telling her husband, and I told Mr. Caldwell earlier today that Mrs. King will, at budget time, will be accompanying them to try and get more commitment to that fund. We don't need $100,000, okay? There needs to be a little bit more leeway there, because after the mowing contract, I think we have roughly, again, give them ballpark figures, about $2,000 left over. And
What else do you have besides the mowing contract with that, if you have that $2,000 left over?
Gas and oil, those kinds of things.
For who?
Liability insurance.
For you guys? You guys get the $2,000, the volunteers?
No, only if we have to request the funds from them to go towards whatever.
And that's for mileage. That's the only thing that they get monies for.
Now, the year before, we requested $2,500 for supplies and equipment, and then $2,500 for reimbursement. And we didn't use all that, but this year, we've pretty much got the equipment we need. It's just going to be a matter of, replacement equipment if it breaks down, repairs on equipment, so we've pretty much got it to the point where we have what we need that way, other than we do need cement, we do need forms, we do need screws, nuts, bolts, stuff for flagpoles, flags, that type of thing.
So our actual tax draw for the year is $26,000?
For this year, yes.
For this year?
Yeah.
And we
And
signed
like I
it,
say,
we
couple
have a
of-
contract for what?
I'm sorry,
How big is the contract?
26.4, or
23,
24.
24 or 24.3, I can't remember which one it is.
23 and 24,000.
And how many cemeteries is that?
The contractor does 20 and then 2 twice a year. Those are the larger ones, well, they're not all large, but they're all roadside, the ones the contractor does.
There are actually, and correct me if I'm wrong, there are actually 108, 109.
Well, there is, but not all those cemeteries are around anymore. We have accounted for about 84 cemeteries that need care.
So we're really only taking care of a quarter of them.
So really so really we've signed a pretty good sized contract for 20 cemeteries then, right? Is that for this year? So the contract's going to have to come down some, I would think.
Well, the contract was it a 3-year
It was a
contract?
three-year.
3-year contract,
This is
okay.
the last.
This is
3-year
the last
contract.
year, the contract's up October 1st or November 1st, I can't remember which.
So
But,
how many more years are you on the contract?
I'm sorry.
How many more years do you
It's
have
up
on?
October 1st.
This year?
Yeah, this year.
I mean, no way to lower the contract is to take a few more cemeteries out. That puts more burden on them, so.
Well, it sounds like the volunteers are kind of getting a raw end of the deal here.
We're actually going to advertise probably next month for the mowing contract early. That way, we know kind of what we got to work with.
So the money left over out after the contract's paid, the little debt that we have left now is for the oil and stuff for your equipment, right?
Well, what we're thinking is the VFW, what they raise, that should carry us this year for supplies and oil and all the stuff it takes to do our jobs. What we're looking for is money to reimburse us for the gas that we use going to the cemeteries. And like, the only way to come up with a good way was to say mileage and then drop the quota down to where you would average getting your money back for your gasoline.
But you're getting money for your equipment to mow the grass and in these other cemeteries, right? Out of
We're
this,
gonna
out of
use-
our tax fund.
Well, we haven't this year. There was no
They
money
haven't
available this
fundraised.
year.
So they didn't have enough money there. Okay.
Russ,
Yes.
we budgeted for this year $500 for gas and repair in the cemetery budget, which none of that's been used. None of that goes to the guy that has the mowing contract. So if we want to help them out on this, we would have to additional about $840 out of the cemetery fund and put it in that gas and repair line and let them use it all day. And there's room enough there to do that.
I think it should.
I don't think, I don't have a problem with that.
But we can't do an additional tonight. You'd have to make a request. Well, you're making a request now, but someone that would have to write one out
There needs to be a 10-day advertising.
and advertise 10 days before our next meeting and to meet the legal requirements.
So what do I need to do then for that?
I guess you need to go in and see the auditor.
Okay.
The next step.
And that'll
would
be
you
at the
come in-
next meeting.
Maybe you come, yeah, maybe you
Right. We would need you to come in. There is a deadline schedule. I think it's by July 17th. If you'll be, I would just say come in some point this week, and we'll do an additional appropriation request. It's just a simple one-page sheet, verify the fund, and would council repeat the amount that they wanted to appropriate on the additional?
Well, if we use the $500 that's already been budgeted, it obviously is not going to be used by our mowing contractor. We would need $840 over and above that. So it'd be an $840 additional to give you $1,340 to match what the raise would be.
Yeah, there's a $13.59, but we'll take whatever you get.
Okay, I guess I didn't hear you right. I
That's
broke down
okay.
$1,340.
That's fine. I have no problem with that. So then do I need to come to the next meeting as well, or does that just get?
You would fill, if you'll come to the auditor's office, we'll get the additional paperwork filled out. It'll go through the 10-day advertising in the newspaper, and then I would ask that you come to the August 2nd regular session at 6 p.m., and council will then make a vote on that.
Thank you for your time, and if you ever need to call any of us, feel free to call us at any time.
And actually, I believe that day is August 4th, not the 2nd, that's a Sunday.
Oh, no, they're coming on Sunday. All right, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Cindy.
Centerstone, Delma Chandler.
Good evening. I have a short presentation for you today. I am Thelma Chandler, Regional Clinic Director. We actually have a community mental health center And this is our first year actually talking with the council. For many, many years, probably for a long time, we actually talked to the county commissioners. And so we wanted to review the outline of how we, what we use, excuse me, could you pass that around, please? Thank you. How we use the county funds, the tax revenue, which is about $143,000 that you guys give us, the type of the consumer that we've served this fiscal year is about 1,700. And out of the 1,700, it's about 72% adults and 28% of children and youth. The money is actually used for, here in Fayette County, 90% of the people that actually come to get services from us can't afford to pay our fees. For an example, for therapy, the cost is about $100 an hour. And 90% can't afford to pay that fee. So we use the fund to, they actually end up paying about $20 for that services. We also have people in this county that can't afford to pay anything. We don't turn anyone around. And we have a scholarship where we actually provide free services, wraparound services for them. The services we provide here in this community is crisis services. We provide in-house counseling. We have school-based services. School-based mean going into the schools, working with the children. We also have home-based, community home-based services. We provide medication management, clinic services such as for depression, anxiety, addiction treatment. Also services for the military, for their family. We'll continuing to see what else can we do. And I think the auditor at our last meeting, you asked me to follow up, and I did. So we're going to be working with your veteran officer too, because we do have some free services that we do provide to our military veterans and their family. We're very involved in this community. The value of that cost that you, the tax revenue, the 143 I mentioned, the value of it is a little over $231,000 that pretty much free services, people with no insurance. Hopefully with HELP 2.0, we'll have more people that can come and can afford to pay for some of their treatment. But it costs us here at Centerstone in fringe and salary benefits and operational expense, it's a little over $2 million. We also have I could relate to the person talking about our mental health needs. We do have, we serve the chronically mentally ill in this community, and it takes a lot to care for them. A lot of wraparound services, a lot of us as providers working together to try to manage that population to keep them out of the hospital, to keep them out of the state facilities. Do you all have any questions? I'm just here to give a simple outline of how we utilize the funds. Any questions about our services?
This is Chandler. Does Centerstone also work with the courts the way, in any way like Achieva does?
Work with?
The courts, the court system.
Yes, absolutely. We work with the, throughout substance abuse. A lot of our referrals come from the court, from probation, from DCS, that actually come as a referral system to us. So definitely. Any other questions you have? If you have other questions, if you want some additional information, you have my contact information. Be happy to come and talk with you individually about the services we provide. So just let me know.
Okay.
Thanks for the funding. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you.
Diana, time to wake up.
I'm here tonight to present resolution to you approving the tax abatements that took place in 2014. Each year we have to, and actually the only one, I did give you the cities and the counties just to keep you in the loop of everything. The only one that we'll be approving tonight is Falmouth Farm Supply. And as you can see on the list, they did exceed both the employment plus the salaries. They exceeded on both cases. Yes, there is a resolution that Gertrude has. Does anybody, this information is confidential, but is there anything you'd like to ask or? We did have 2 for Lake Innovative in the past, but since that building was sold, those abatements went away.
Explain that again, Diana, what this resolution is.
I was
The-
reading that.
The resolution, it just approves the, each year, the people that receive the tax abatements have to file a CF1. CF1 has to be filed by May 10, and I get the information off of the CF1 and put it in a spreadsheet, just so I don't have to give you that many pieces of paper. The resolution just approves the tax abatement, that they were compliant.
So this verifies that they are compliant in their.
Yes, it's a compliance resolution, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, this is for the Falmouth Farm Supply.
How long is it for? 5 years?
Yeah.
It was for Falmouth Farm Supply,
This is one-
and it was approved in 2014, and it is for 5 years. It was for equipment.
I make a motion we approve.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and seconded. Is there any further discussion on Resolution 15-R-23 for Falmouth Farm Supply? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries.
Thank you.
Our volunteer fire department, Mr. Groening and Company.
Evening. I'm representing the volunteer fire departments, Glenwood, Bentonville, Everton, and a few years ago, we had a budget line item 302-04000. It was put into the county highway budget for monies. It's $5,000 per volunteer fire department in Fayette County. And I'm here tonight representing the departments, which are also here, to see if we could get the money encumbered into 2016 budget into that fund. Apparently that fund was set up, and last year it was not transferred into the actual line item. So I was mentioned I needed to come tonight and see if we could get that activated over into that budget item tonight.
Is Frank here?
Yeah.
Frank, we're back to that square one again, that the money got taken out of that line item to buy a gate for the highway department.
Okay.
Yes.
And do you have any money down there in the highway department that can be transferred back into that line item for them guys?
Okay, here's why he's here, okay?
Okay.
He called me a month or so ago, we've talked about this, okay? I told him coming back this late in the year is probably a no-go for the same reasons that I gave you about Spillman's upgrade at $40,000 the last 3 months of the year.
Yeah, but that didn't come out of the highway department.
I'm talking about my reasoning, okay?
Okay.
What he's asking for here is for the monies that you gave him 2-3 years ago, whenever it was, okay?
2013.
To be put into next year's budget, okay? That's what he's asking for. He's not asking for an additional appropriation tonight. He's making you aware of the situation and explaining that probably next year is the time, next month during the budget hearing is the time to put this money. What I would suggest, okay, and you do what you want to, obviously, but I would suggest that you put those monies into our contractual services. We can actually have a contract made up for each of the fire departments, and it will state the duties as far as removing trees and limbs, etc. And any monies, anything left over, okay, anything that you wouldn't, if they only remove 2 trees, it will be considered a donation to a public safety agency. That's what I would recommend. So
Are you recommending that going into contractual services in the highway department budget, not in the general, right?
No, in our contractual services. In
At the
commissioners.
highway?
No, commissioners.
Why wouldn't you put it in a highway since they're working for the highway? Why would we take it out of the general?
Well, the highway can't do a contract, okay, for one thing.
They got contractual services, don't you have a line item for contracts?
Yes.
Contracts?
Okay, what? Russ, you put it wherever you want to. I'm trying to.
I'm just saying that it's done for the highway department. Let's don't take it out of the general. We're beating our brains out
should be out of
with the
highways.
general the way it is. Why wouldn't we, we'll just take it,
Okay, again, this is not for this year, this is for next year. So wherever you want to put it and take it out of, I don't care. That was just a recommendation. I thought it'd be easier. They can come to us at the beginning of the year, we have a contract drawn up, 3 departments can sign it, they get the money. However you want to do it, it's up to you, okay? But I'm telling you the reasoning behind all this and why he's here tonight, what he and I have discussed, and the reasoning behind it.
There's been a lot of miscommunication, I guess, in the past, so we're trying to get everything fixed here, maybe.
Well, I don't have a problem with it because I'm the guy that tried to get you the money to start with.
Russ, didn't we put the money aside in the highway budget for
We did, and that's what
$15,000?
that's what he
That
said.
got transferred in a line item to put a new gate in down at the highway garage?
That's
What
where it
happened to the $15,000?
So you're asking
That's
for
what Russ is saying, why can't the highway put money back in that fund, 15,000, instead of taking use for a gate and get the gate money from somewhere else for this year? And we'll appropriate more money for next year.
When was the gate put in?
I have no idea.
Oh, well, it was 2014 it was put in.
No, the gate was put in this year, sometime this, I think it was in May, April.
I was only made aware when this came up in January or so, what had happened.
But it sounds like Chad had agreement there that they don't necessarily want the money in the past. They want the money for the future. Basically, they're
Yes, that is
bypassing.
correct, sir, because he said it was so late in the year without messing everybody's budget up and transferring monies. So that's why I'm asking for it to be into the 2016 budget.
Well, nothing covered, just made it and put into the 2016.
Okay, put in the 2016 budget. Might be easier than going back and backtracking on everything.
Russ, we're trying to correct a problem here, okay?
We're just discussing that, if we spent the money out of the highway department, which that should have never been done that way, that the money should be there someplace that they could put it back in there. And then these guys could get their money, but if they're willing to wait till 2016, fine. I don't have a problem as long as they can get there, as long as 2016, we give them their money. But,
As representative of the fire departments, we're not here to cause any problems. We're just trying to straighten out a situation for the.
We're here, and here the council's not here to
Yeah.
cause that problem because we wanted you guys to have the money, and
Yeah.
somewhere or another you got lost.
Lost.
So that's fine. But
Well, I guess
when it comes to budget time, I'll be voting to put it in the highway budget for contractual services because that's where it's the work's gonna be done, not out of the general.
So then next year, with these contracts, then we actually submit these contracts back to the highway or bring them back to you guys on?
Ever how the commissioners wanna do it, if you can mail it to Frank or whoever,
If you're
and
putting-
he can bring it
if you're
to
putting it in the highway
the
budget.
auditor, goes to the highway, and it's,
If you're putting the
should be
highway budget,
approved
all
by
he
the
has-
highway department.
All he has to do is submit a claim form. There's no need to come to, well, other than come to us for the claim.
What I'm saying is, I just felt that they should get paid now.
Could they put a claim form in for this year?
Yeah, I could.
Well, you'd have to take it, it depends whose budget you take it out of.
It was budgeted for, but it wasn't evidently sorted out right or something. But
Not this year.
that money should still be there.
No, not at the end of the year. If it wasn't encumbered, then it would have transferred over to the next year. And it
No,
was
we
not.
put it in the highway's budget, I'm saying.
The money that
But it was used for something else.
the money that Mr. Seidel said during the minutes of the 2013 budget hearings, he specifically was one of the ones requesting that $15,000 be put in the highway budget for 2014 for the volunteer service expenses. And doing research, because some bills were coming in from the different volunteer departments, we found out that it was in April of 2014 when that specific line item that was set up for the volunteer fire departments, money was transferred out of that by the department head at that time to be used for this maintenance gate or that project.
Go back in there and get it.
And so the money's been spent in 2014, so there's no way to encumber money at this point. So it would really be up to council at this point as far as looking forward, as Mr. Groening's requesting, to put during the budget season, to put that money back in, appropriate it back into the highway. But the 2014 money that council appropriated, that has been spent.
We appropriated for this year.
Well, Mr. Groen, I'd say for you, you would submit your bill come January 1st to the highway department,
Highway department?
and then we'll take care of it from that point for next year.
Figure it out in August.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
And it will,
Sorry, figure it out in August, we'll sit down. get it.
Oh, okay. All right.
I guess the next question is, do you want him to attend your budget hearings to make an official request, or?
It wouldn't hurt.
it wouldn't hurt, yeah, it wouldn't hurt that.
Yes, where-
And what meeting, I'm sorry?
Just get with the auditor and she'll put you on the schedule, we'll notify you when.
Well, may I make a recommendation? That would be easier for Mr. Groening, because we can't just have public coming in during
Right.
the budget hearing
Yeah.
times.
It's gotta be recommended by
If
the.
council as a whole is saying that they're interested in keeping it in the highway budget, when the highway director has his appointed
Yes,
time,
yes.
I would recommend that, so when Mr. Groening, if you would stay in touch with my office as we get to the beginning part of August and have that schedule set, and I can tell you when the highway department has their hearing.
That'd be fine.
That's a good idea.
The highway superintendent should
That's
make that
correct,
request.
Is it okay if I just come, or should I, as I did tonight, bring a representative from each fire department?
Well, these are public hearings, so certainly the public's encouraged to weigh in on whatever budget matters they want to.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Additional deduction surveyor, Mr. Suttle is not here.
He's not here, but I will present this on his behalf. If council will remember, at the June 2nd meeting, the treasurer, Mary Hires, was asking for an additional appropriation of $5,500, which council approved with a contingency that they would approve this if there was a reduction of money from another budget in the county line item in county general. Warren Sudoff had additional funds that he will not use out of his personnel line. And so this particular resolution, number 15-R-15, is being presented to do a reduction in the county general to supplement that part-time additional council passed last August, or last June 2nd. I have August on my brain.
Thank you.
He's going to sign that when it's passed.
All right. Does everybody recall that discussion with Mr. Sudoff and Mary?
Yes.
Very well.
Want to make a motion?
I'll move to approve the reduction.
Second.
Okay, motion approved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor of this reduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Judge Bush, finally.
Good evening. On May 26th of 2015, I submitted a request for an additional appropriation, and that is for attorney fees associated with representation of people in criminal cases, and also CHINS cases, that's the Children in Need of Services cases. I've talked to you about those cases at length. When I submitted my request, the balance in that fund at that time was $11,563.86. And I had one of my staff run the balance as of yesterday. That fund is now at $4,081.94. So we're just now in the beginning of July. So being realistic, I know where we're headed with that. Of course, we have the bulk of the attorney fees are under contract, but we have certain, what I'll call uncontrollable attorney expenses, and I've talked to you about that before, but I'll be happy to answer any questions. What we're dealing with at this point are several appeals, and not just criminal appeals, but we've had, if you read the newspaper, much higher than usual filings of CHINS cases. A large portion of that related to the drug problem, but not all of it. And unfortunately, at some point with these cases, the Department of Child Services files for termination of parental rights. And then we have trials on termination of parental rights, and often when that is granted by the court, the parents have the right to appeal that. They have the right to court-appointed counsel for something of that serious nature, of course. And so we are dealing now with a number of appeals of termination of parental rights cases. In addition to the criminal appeals, we paid for most of the criminal appeals at this point. I do know that I'm going to have a bill probably right at $15,000 for a case involving 5 children. And that has gone through the appeals process, and both parents, they got an attorney each, and then there was a 3-day trial. So we had to pay for the transcript of the trial. So that's going to be expensive. Just day before yesterday, I appointed appellate counsel for a parent whose rights were terminated. And I've had several termination trials in the last several weeks. And I can foresee some more of those appeals coming down the pipeline. So I've asked for an additional $50,000 to get us through the end of the year, and that's what that money is for. And like I said, these things unfortunately are not really within the court's control, as we've talked about before. We don't really know when someone is going to commit a crime or request a speedy trial. We don't really know when someone is going to abuse or neglect their children and cause those children to be removed and cause a termination to be filed. But that's what we're looking at. So I'm asking for an additional $50,000 to get us through the end of the year. If anybody has any questions, I think I invited Councilman Strong the last time I was here to come and visit court or visit CHINS court or criminal court, and that invitation stands. The CHINS cases, of course, are confidential, and you would have to agree to a confidentiality statement, but you're welcome to come to court anytime and observe any of those trials or see what's going on.
Well, Judge, I can say I certainly understand your situation, and I wish you and the prosecutor were not so busy.
As do I, yes.
I think I've told you before, there's nothing I would like better if you could sit in your office and twiddle your thumbs and have nothing to do all day. But that's not the case. We both know that. Do you honestly think 50,000 will finish us the rest of the year?
Well, I do, but I'm not trying to avoid answering the question, but it's a question that I don't have a lot of control over. I can guess based upon my experience, but sometimes a parent will want to appeal, and 98% of the time the parents of these cases are indigent, so they're going to have appointed counsel. I can't tell you every parent will appeal or every parent won't. So I don't know for sure what number of these parents will want to appeal and have appellate counsel. And I can tell you that there are a lot of these cases, like I said, in the pipeline. I just assigned another attorney just 2 days ago. I just signed some orders terminating parental rights on some cases very recently. They have 30 days to file an appeal and to request an attorney, and I just don't know what number of those parents will choose to do that, nor do I know who for sure is going to get arrested and request a speedy trial. So it's hard to say for sure. And I try to use attorneys. I try to be very diligent about tracking how the attorneys bill and use attorneys who I believe are competent but also reasonably priced. But an appeal is going to cost you several $1,000s no matter what. So I think it will, and I hope it will, and maybe we'll get through without even using all of it. But this is my best estimate of what we would need. We have, and some of this, like I said, is CHIN, so it's not even criminal cases. It's the abuse and neglect cases, and these are civil cases. The attorney that handles those cases is the Department of Child Services. We do, of course, have our criminal trials where we set firm trial dates every month, 4 or 5 deep, and we have those. I have one civil trial in August. I don't have any other civil trials set this year. We had a civil trial set in May, but it did settle at the last minute. I thought we would have that expense, but we did not. But it's just, I can't say for sure. Most people don't want to agree to go to prison for a period of time, and so you have to set a firm trial date. Sometimes those resolve, but sometimes they don't. So.
You explained it very well.
Well, if you have any questions, like I said, I'll be happy to answer them. If anybody wants to observe the court and even CHIN's cases, that's fine too. Just let me know ahead of time and we'll get the confidentiality agreements. And you'll understand, I think, exactly what we're looking at if you watch some of those cases.
I'll move to approve $50,000 for the overturned fees.
I'll second it.
We have a motion to approve and a second to approve the additional appropriation request for the circuit court from the county general in the amount of $50,000. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Send down the form, the resolution that accompanies that 15-R to 16 to be signed as well.
Thank you, I appreciate that, thanks.
Prosecutor.
Evening. I'm here for a couple of different matters. I don't know which was first on your agenda. Does it matter to you all?
No.
Okay.
If I could make a recommendation, Ms. Jones, let's go with the 3150 additional request. Thanks.
This is the first of 2 additionals that we're requesting. If you recall, I came to you prior to actually taking the position of prosecutor, but after the election, and talked with you about the salary for our deputy that I was hiring. And you approved an increase in the pay, and this additional and the next additional, because she's paid out of more than one fund, are just to make the budget, put in that line what we need to pay her for what you agreed that the amount would be on December 16th. And that's, she asked me to do the 3150 first, but the 3150 comes out of county general, out of our county general fund, and the other one comes out of the 4D incentive money. And that other one is $5,050.
I remember that conversation about this. So our 144s don't match what's budgeted.
Right, because, of course, the budget hearings, which are coming up on us now, were already done. Then there was this change in personnel, and we even talked, I think we even talked that evening about how I was going to have to come back to y'all to get everything squared away for the accounting side of it.
I'll make a motion.
A second motion.
We have a motion to do what?
To give them the money.
Okay, well, you've got to say that. You can't say what you want. We have a motion to approve the additional appropriation, the amount of $31.50 for prosecutors. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it.
That's one of the funds. The second one is $5,050 on the 4D incentive side for the same purpose.
I'll make a motion that we appropriate $5,050.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second? Second. And a second. Any further discussion? So a motion and a second to approve the additional appropriation request, the amount of $5,050. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries.
The last item that I'm here for is a request to do an additional appropriation on, this is the more fun part. Instead of spending tax dollars, we're spending dollars we took from criminals. So $9,350. I am limited by statute on what I can spend that on, but I have to appropriate before I do that. And that money will be going back to support the agencies that were responsible for the investigations, the arrests, the prosecutions, and the forfeiture of that money. And about once a week, somebody with a badge comes to me and asks me for a new piece of equipment. I'm learning that's one of the things that I was shielded from as chief deputy, but we already have some suggestions on what we might spend some of that money for. So I'm asking that you appropriate that over so that I can do that.
This may be an unfair question, Betty, but is our sheriff's department going to benefit from this?
Yes, all of the agencies. One thing I can say about the fight against crime, and particularly a lot of these end up being drug cases that we end up with money back into the system to help us with. And one thing I can say about the agencies here in our community is that they really, even before this heroin task force, worked so well together. And your sheriff was actually involved in the investigation when he was part of the rough drug task force that resulted in the bulk of this money. So yes, they are going to benefit from it. Right now, they need some new portable breath tests. I think I'm going to be asked for some radar detectors, and somebody wants some more money to buy drugs, and yeah, that's exactly what that goes into is those investigations. Where else do you get to stand up in a government meeting and say you're going to use money to buy drugs, right? I have the best job in the world.
Pretty clear.
Well, let's approve that.
Want to make a motion?
Yeah, this motion. That's my motion.
It's this motion, and sticking to it.
I'll second it.
We have a motion to approve that, as Russ Sedell said, for the $9,350. Any discussion? Shouldn't be.
Question for Betty,
Yes.
please. And I know you came and told us this is not the first time that we've talked about this process, but could you go through again the process that it goes from the point where, I'm not talking about buying the drugs or the breathalyzer, what have you, but from the very beginning when you determine that there is a need to arrest someone or someone has committed a crime.
Are you asking how we take the
At the
property?
very beginning, what happens?
How we take the property?
Yes, and
Okay.
and what has to happen to ensure that, have we already prosecuted this person and they have been sentenced and,
Forfeitures are a result of a court action.
okay,
We contract with an attorney in Indianapolis who specializes in forfeitures. It's been deemed, and I think that this is a very good policy, that it's not right for local prosecutors to be doing, prosecuting the forfeiture actions. There's certainly an ethical dilemma. My job is to seek justice and to prosecute crimes. My job is not to take funds from people, because when you get to that point, then there's the idea that some prosecutors would say, I'll give you a more lenient sentence if you give me this money. And so that has been taken care of by creating a system where we contract with other attorneys. We contract with Greg Garrison, and he handles all of our forfeitures for this county. What was that, Chris?
So he's a prosecutor too.
He's a former prosecutor. He's not a prosecutor anymore. He's a former prosecutor. And he is very knowledgeable in this area.
So then,
let's say that you're driving through town
okay,
with your stash of drugs.
okay,
And they're packaged individually. You've got a set of scales, and you've got some cash, and who knows, maybe you even have a map of where you drop your stuff off. And you get pulled over because you don't use a turn signal, or you go through a red light, or you roll through a stop sign, and the officer comes up to your window and they see the scales, or they see the pills, or they see whatever drugs you're transporting. Because that vehicle is being used in the commission of a crime,
right,
and because the money can most likely be tied to that crime, you can file a civil forfeiture action. It's categorized as a proceeding that is, it's a civil proceeding related to a criminal action. It's totally separate from our prosecution. I file charges for dealing or possession or whatever. And then this information goes to Greg Garrison, and he files a forfeiture action. And he handles that completely independently. Our officers would be the witnesses in that, and he has a standard of proof that he has to meet in front of a judge. Many times these are settled just like other civil cases.
right. But I guess the question that and I understand that they're a result of court action, but the court action that I want to know about, has that person who was driving through town, have they been convicted prior to?
Usually they
the
have, but they're
forfeiture?
too independent.
I understand that, but that's my whole
But
total
usually
question.
they have, yes.
I want to make sure that before we're spending this other person's money, that that person was found guilty. That's my question. And does that always happen?
It doesn't have to always happen.
Okay.
Because in criminal matters, I have to meet beyond a reasonable doubt. That's my standard, okay? You hear it all the time on TV. It's a safeguard of our freedom. That's how it works if we can put you in jail. Now, in a civil action, which a forfeiture is, the burden is not that high.
Right.
Now, I can't think of one single case where we have not ended up with a conviction and taken somebody's property and ended up with their property. It doesn't usually happen. But it is possible that it could happen.
The state of Michigan, I believe, is working to change their forfeiture law.
Oh, it's a nationwide.
I'm sure.
We have a lot. One of the changes most recently, and it's been since I've been, in the time that I've been chief deputy, we didn't do forfeiture actions because it made us uncomfortable. We didn't do it because we felt like it was a conundrum for us to be dealing with someone's freedom and criminal record and history and convictions along with property and things of value. We just felt like that wasn't right. And eventually, the standards across the nation are changing to say that it can't be done that way. Forfeitures are something that you have not heard a lot about from our office until we got to the point where it was more controlled and separated from our office so that we wouldn't be placed in that conundrum. If we are given that money, two things have happened. A court, or there are actually a couple things can happen first. They can either agree, which the bulk of this money, it was done by settlement. It was a home. It was actually a local business. They had so much equity in it. We settled for a portion of the equity because we didn't want to sell a place in this. They didn't want to lose it, and we didn't want to sell it in this economy or do upkeep. So we settled for a portion of it. So that was an agreement in a civil case. The other way it can happen is that a court can say, You're absolutely right. This was used in the commission of the crime. It's subject to forfeiture, state gets it. Once that happens, we sit on that money past the appellate deadline so that we know that it's done. This money has been sitting here well past appeals deadlines. We're done. This is not something, we're not spending money that we're going to have to get back.
Right.
And the officers will tell you, sometimes they've brought me settlements that Mr. Garrison has gotten for us, and we wait. We wait to make sure that we don't have to return that because of some appellate action that might happen.
Good. That was really my whole question, because again, I have heard, but you know, again, just like beyond a reasonable doubt, it's that old thing, innocent until proven guilty. And I have read, and you know, maybe it isn't correct what I've read, but I do know that Michigan is working to change the law because of a similar having to forfeit, maybe that they might not have been found guilty yet. So I just wanted to make sure what the time was.
Usually the criminal case, the civil case is just postponed until the criminal case is done.
Thank you.
That's usually what happens, because once I get that conviction, because my burden is higher, I make his job easy.
Okay.
He's the one that's on the radio every day and everybody knows him, but I'm the one that makes his job easy.
Well, I'm delighted to have this cash to go to replace the much needed funds, so thank you.
Thank you.
What amazes me is what I've learned in this whole process, that how well you know Shirley's driving habits.
Betty, what if the car is not paid for? Would the bank have recourse if you confiscate it?
That's all dealt with in the civil action.
Okay.
All the lien holders are given notice, and we don't go after cars with debts on them, because there's usually either they're paid for and they're worth something, or they're not paid for and they're worth what's owed on them.
Right.
So we don't typically do that. There has to be some value in property before we go after it. The bulk of this is from somebody's equity in a piece of commercial property that drugs were dealt out of. She's in prison, and we settled close to 6 months ago, maybe now.
Betty, what's the average from the time a person's taken custody to it's all through the courts? What's the average time frame?
The average?
Just roughly.
It's hard to ballpark, because I'm thinking I have 2 different courts that we're responsible for.
I guess what's the shortest and what's the longest you've experienced?
If someone doesn't go AWOL on us, we have to have an arrest warrant. That certainly throws a spike into it we can't deal with. Maybe 3 years is typically, that's the longest. The average is probably more like 1.5 to 2. But when I think about how long, that's about the age of the case I'm trying. The age of the cases, you heard Judge Butch say we had cases set for this month. Those cases are probably 1.5 to 2 years old. But in fairness to the average that you're asking for, all the cases we've settled, which are more than half of them, would take that average down. Most cases are done within 6 months.
Okay.
Some cases are done within a month.
Okay. All right.
So we have a motion, we have a second, we've had plenty of discussion. We'll vote on it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries.
Thank you so much. You all have a wonderful evening.
Terry Bennett?
Oh my goodness, my legs still work.
Hey.
I am here for the additional that we have asked for. It is to cover our emergency radio service, our maintenance agreement. This covers everything on our console, down in our basement equipment, and everything up at the tower side. We cut this budget last year knowing that we would have to come back and ask for an additional for it.
Any questions for Terry?
It's a reoccurring thing every year, so we just
something we do every year. I move to approve this additional request from the 911 department.
I'll second it.
We have a motion to approve it, and a second, the additional appropriation for $6,900. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries.
Thank you.
Move on to Joey, our sheriff.
Everybody else gets a title, I can tell.
Deputy Supreme or Sheriff Supreme.
I'm hungry, I'm thinking about burritos.
I won't comment on that.
Yeah, it's thick. I'll try to make it fast.
Should schedule your own meeting.
Yeah. Just to follow up real quick on what Betty was talking about the seizures, if I can, and to make it appeal even more to you guys. Some of the vehicles that we're seizing, Leonard Baker will be going in to work drugs beginning next week, and he obviously can't run around in a Sheriff K9 Durango. There are several vehicles to choose from that have been seized that he will be able to use, so that will help us to not have to get another vehicle for him just yet, and keep him out of that, and also give us a spare vehicle. So it's another luxury with some of the seizures. Just to follow up on that. First thing that I have in your book that I gave each one of you is a request. This is from Stanley Security. It is a yearly contract that we have with Stanley. This contract actually does take care of maintenance issues, unlike Spillman, because we're having severe breakdowns within our jail, and I think it's okay to talk about now because they have been corrected, but the system was going down quite often. And we had jail officers that were getting stuck in the blocks, which obviously presents tremendous safety issues and security issues. They have upgraded our system, which is part of that maintenance contract. It's something that we pay out each year, but they came in and took care of that. It's actually a little lower than we expected it to be. We did remove a few terminals. There was a little additional cost, but we did remove a few of the terminals that they had said they wanted those in the pods, and didn't really see a necessity for those. But and that is something I brought to the commissioners a while back. I was under the assumption that the commissioners had to ask you guys to approve that because it was a maintenance contract. Apparently I was wrong, so I'm here humbly asking that we can get Stanley paid on this. And the request is for $19,630.
Joey, is that the amount? Tell me, is this the yearly contract amount, or is this what we needed to fix the problem, or some of both?
I think there's a little additional cost with the upgrade, but not much. The maintenance contract, and I don't have the exact figure what the yearly maintenance contract is with
The
them.
reason that I just asked was that excluded, or did we just not approve it last year in the budget time for that annual contract?
I believe it was approved, but I still had to ask you guys to pay it. That was my assumption, to pay this out. And I thought it was something contractual, it was a maintenance thing that the commissioners took care of, but apparently not. So.
I need to clear something up here, Joey. I mean, Sheriff.
No.
Sorry.
Joey's fine.
I'm still not used to you being sheriff.
Yeah, me neither. Sometimes.
This request is for 19,630. Okay. We requesting that out of Cume Jail or to Cume Jail?
From
Cume Jail. We don't have, according to my book, we don't have enough money in that fund to cover this request.
Yeah, the present balance on here is $7,481.88 is what we had.
No, I'm
Are
still.
you talking about the fund itself?
The fund itself.
That's a problem.
And I don't know, I mean, it's been paid each year. I don't know where in the past it has come from, but the money was there in February. I went before the commissioners and asked for it in February. It was approved by the commissioners, and apparently I was to come to you guys. I thought it was something the commissioners took care of because it was a maintenance agreement with something within the jail. It's a maintenance contract.
I'm not too sure, Joey, that you're right about the commissioners taking it out of their contractual services, because I can't remember us coming up with 20 grand before, or 16 grand, or what it was before. How much we got in that fund, Strong?
As of June 30, this report says there was $16,818.43. What there is today, I don't know. But that's not enough to cover what he's requesting. He's requesting $19,630. There's not that much money there. So, and
You're requesting the full amount of that contract, right?
Yes.
What other money you have in that this fund here, the 7,400? What's that for, Joey? What are you going to use
The
it
Cume
for?
jail, just for various, we don't have any other expenses that will be coming out of it now. I mean, other than, nothing that I am aware of. But the maintenance contract, is that where it typically came out of, that you guys have with Stanley? For the jails?
I think it usually came out of jail, yes. As I recall.
And we came to you guys in February.
Yes. Originally, the sheriff submitted an agreement for $30,000 and change, and he dropped that by doing away with some equipment in the actual observation blocks in the cell block areas. So it got down to this 19,000 and change. He did come to us in January, February, March, and asked our approval for this, and we did give it. I don't know what the problem was, but this contract has been ongoing, been hanging in the air for about 6 months, and the company is clamoring for their money.
I can imagine.
I'm sorry.
I can imagine they are.
So out of Cume jail, we're asking for the 19, but if
There's only, according to this, is $7,481.88.
so, there's not
that's
even
something.
enough in there to even take out 11 or 12,000 and add on to 7 that he's already got in there. So we don't even have enough to take that out.
well, the only thing we could do, Russ, would be just run it in the red and wait for the next
I'm not sure your auditor wants to pay in the red.
receipts.
I'm not sure your auditor wants to pay in the red. I don't want to pay in the red.
We've been paying in the red out of county general off and on all year.
We're off and on. But when are we going to pay this back? We won't pay it back till the next draw.
I have a December draw coming. And I know it's not the ideal way to do business, for sure.
Is there any other funds that you can take some out of too?
How much you got in
What do you think?
misdemeanor
Well, I have some
fund?
more things to ask from the misdemeanor fund. So,
Well, and you mentioned earlier.
You're asking
Yeah.
4,000 from it, how much you got in that fund?
52,
I know.
5,200?
Really.
52,000.
Many.
Frank, you guys have any left in the contractual services of the commissioners that you could draw from, or not?
I don't know what our balance is right now, to be honest with you. You know, Richard.
Well, we did add some monies back in from the LAO contractual services. I would be guessing if I gave you a number.
I know, they won't haul all that up.
So for 7,000, come out 12, isn't it?
Well, that's what he said. He said there was 16 something.
Yeah, it is. Now, I don't have an immediate suggestion. I just, Sheriff, I didn't see this until just prior to the meeting, so I haven't had time to check,
Right.
to see what we
understand.
was doing here until just now, so.
And there was some discussion and trying to figure out where it was coming out. I was under the assumption when I came before the commissioners that was something the commissioners, it's a contractual thing, it was a maintenance issue with the jail, that was something that came out. And here we are, so.
Well, I'll defer to my colleagues for a solution.
Joy, when you went to the commissioners back in February
It was
or whatever,
February meeting, yeah.
were you told right then that it was not part of contractual at that time?
No, I think we were
Or
under
did
the
they know?
assumption it come out of the
The,
contract.
the actual meeting minutes, when we looked back, the commissioners stated in the meeting that it should be paid for out of Cume Jail. But at the time, we didn't know that because of some other expenses that were carried over from 2014, that fund pretty much was drained from other jail expenses.
I mean, if it's a contractual service, it's a yearly thing, it should be under contractual services. It's a yearly reoccurring.
In the audit, we spoke earlier about including some of that, and putting that in our budget, so we're not to this point with this kind of confusion where it's supposed to come out of, so it will be in the sheriff's budget for next year. Yeah, so we're not here trying to rob Peter to pay Paul.
Frank, can you help us out on the contractual services or not?
I don't know, Russ, I don't know what our balance is.
What's the balance, Dale, you're up to date, what you got in contractual services, commissioners?
Commissioners?
Commissioners.
You're the budget man.
I think it's,
Well, let's see. Page 24.
We can take, if we can get 7,000 out of Cume Cap, pretty well breaks it. But if they can get 7,000 from them, then we get this guy paid. Or whoever's
Well, I
in
think it's account
Cume
line
Jail.
30970.
We still
That
have them up
helps.
to 12,000.
Seven, got a 7 for 7 and 7, and then they got 7.
You say
Okay,
30970?
I believe so, yes. Under county general
12,
fund.
and then they're gonna get 7, if they get 7 from the commissioner. And 7 at Cume Jail,
Right.
or Cume Jail.
As of July the 2nd, I was looking at service contracts, not contractual services. There's a difference there.
We'll look at the right one.
Well, I was looking at the one Gertrude numbered there. In service contracts, yeah, there's over $100,000 there, but that's not contractual services.
Oh, that's good. Where's it, which one is it? Distributor. Ain't got a balance.
I can't look them up as fast as you can come up with them.
Don't you have down a pad? What seems to be the problem, Dale?
Well, Russ,
You're the
give me
budget
some-
man.
give me some
You have
help
that
here.
memorized.
Yeah.
How much money you got in your misdemeanor? Because I'm asking the budget man here and he can't come up with it.
51 or 52?
It's 51,000, and that's prior to the appropriation being asked for today.
What's that?
There's another one that I'd spoke to a few of you about that be coming out.
About
that'll be
$4,000.
coming next month.
12, isn't it?
Well, we could
I got
borrow
4
money
and
from
a
the
12.
jail.
The 4 is for tonight, 12 is for next month.
Could we borrow money from you, Joey, then to pay this contract out of your misdemeanor
Come out,
fund?
so there's 16,000.
Unless you can't find nothing from the
Well, one
commissioners.
thing, as far as the Indiana code on the misdemeanor fund, that is a non-reverting fund specifically designated, and it does have to be used for the operation of the jail and services specifically, which I
Guess that would be.
suppose if our attorney wants to weigh in on that, would that fall under?
So
I
Joe,
mean, it was
Since it is a
services
jail.
done
of
at
the
the jail.
52 you got right now, when we take these two out, you're gonna roughly have left in that about 36
Yeah.
plus months.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's the attorney's,
I mean, it was maintenance done at the jail, and you said it's specifically designated for,
Jail operations and services.
I mean, I don't see how that shouldn't fall under that.
it should fall under?
Yeah.
Here's our answer.
Okay.
And that's for now, right? And if we find it, we'll put it back.
Yeah, next year we'll put that in the budget.
Okay.
Yeah.
Should- Your guys' decision. So we'll get, so
Well,
is that-
and so
I
when you
think-
say we're going to put it in the budget, but again, you submit that budget to us, so you'll identify it to us in the
He
budget.
said he would.
Yeah.
He would have it on the budget. Okay.
And I just talked to Zach, and there's some confusion about the contract. Apparently, they have not paid the contract the last few years. I'll let him speak to that, because he,
The contract with Securus, when we first, or Stanley, when we first got the system, we were paying a contract, and every year it would go up 3%. Well, after about 4 or 5 years, you guys decided that it was too expensive, so we stopped paying the contract. Now, this 19 that he's asking for is just for the upgrade, and I'm not sure what the contract is going to be next year for the service fees, I guess. But this is for the upgrade to the system, and then it's not going to be $19,000 for the service for the contract for next year. I wouldn't assume, but I doubt. I don't know what it was. And every year it goes up 3%, and that's why you guys decided.
Zach, can you jump on that real quick and try to get something, what it would cost us next year, because budget time is coming.
All right. We'll find out.
And that's very important that we put that in that
Put
budget.
that in the budget. What you bring to us.
But this money, if you got misdemeanor money, that kind of money, to get us out of this mess here, we may have to use it, Joey.
yeah, that's
Or
fine.
you have to help us use it or something,
Yeah.
unless you can talk Frank back here into giving you some money out of his.
Well, if we had did we ever find the amount in the contract?
No, our professional here is still looking.
I think he fell asleep. Since he's the only one that has the actual budget with
In
him.
the commissioner's service contracts line, there's a little, about $102,000 sitting there, but I'm pretty sure that that's spoken for, because you guys have already spent a bunch on service contracts so far this year. So you've got several things that happened during the year, and I don't know what all is on your financial calendar for the rest of the year, to tell you the truth, Frank.
Without looking at what line item you're talking about, okay? There were some money spent out of there that were reimbursed into the fund, okay? So I think the spending you're talking about, if we're talking about the same line item, may be artificially inflated. The line item I'm talking about for contractual services at the beginning of the year, we started out with 159 and some change.
Yeah, that's service contracts.
Okay.
30970.
All right, and you say the balance as of June 30th was 102,000, is that correct?
Yeah, 102,820.
Okay, so, and then respectfully, 16,000 of that, 159 was spent for the overages owed to Umball at the beginning of the year. It was taken out of our contractual services, so that's not an expenditure that we made. So if you count the monies that were spent out of there and put back in, because there was just a misunderstanding as to what fund things were taken out of, and you count to 16,000, our spending has been rather frugal, I think. So I would hate to tell you that we will go ahead and do this out of that 102,000, because that's as of June 30th, and I don't know what's been taken out of that in the last 8 days. So the most important thing is this contract get paid.
Yeah.
That's the number one priority. I told Joey while you guys were discussing that if we have to, we'll call a special session next week and take it out of our contractual services. Then we can come back to you for additional money at the end of the year if that's needed.
Well, so far this year, the commissioners have spent $167,570 out of that line, and I don't know what you have coming for the rest of the year, so I don't want to make decisions for the commissioners. If you want to loan the sheriff some money in this case, okay. If you don't, you guys, I guess you can beat up on us.
Mrs. Whitaker, I'll get with the other two commissioners or to contact them tomorrow, see when we can get together for a special meeting, and I'll let you know when it is so we can advertise for it.
Now, mind you, there is some money left in King Jail, but just not enough to meet your request, so.
We're about 12,000 short,
Yeah.
give or take.
So can we,
Joey, back on your misdemeanor fund, jumping on that bandwagon, I mean, how often does that get replenished? How does your money come into that? How that thing got built up to 50,000?
Well, it just it's accumulated over time. The thing is,
Over so many years,
Yeah.
is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and I think last year you used some of that money for gas, was that?
Yeah, for gas, and we also got a transport card.
Right.
that's fine.
We
I think
negotiated.
every 6 months we get
you get back 18 to 20,000 a
18
year?
to 20, is that what it is?
About every, what did you say?
I thought it was every
Every
6
6
months we got 18,000, but Frank's thinking it's every year we get 16,000.
Every year.
And we obviously have, and I'll get to those here in a minute, but we have some other costs, but they're all related to the jail.
Okay.
So,
Well, if the
Just to-
commissioners agree to loan you the money or give you the money, then.
when I came in February, the money was there, so I'm not
Okay.
trying.
You came
Ask
in
for
March.
something.
You should have came in March and got it.
You're right, you're right.
So, Auditor, what do we need to do, anything, or are you gonna?
Well, if once the commissioners agree that they'll take the money from the contractual services to pay for this, we do have to do a re-advertising since it's
Okay.
coming out of a new fund. So as soon as I can get this in the newspaper, the better, because I just have to have 10 days of advertising, which
Okay.
includes
Let's go that
weekends. And then we can have a special session to vote on approving this additional.
He's not giving it.
Commissioners can.
No, the commissioners cannot.
No. Coming out of what, the contractual?
20,000.
Yeah.
So they'd be voting on it now.
I don't see what he's taking out.
But an additional appropriation always gets approved by council, not by the commissioners.
There's 12,000.
Should have came to us.
It's
We
coming
send
out.
us over the additional appropriate, if we spend it out of our contractual
Exactly.
services, we can do that in our special session next week, correct?
You can. We would just take this one off the table. That has been advertised out of the Cume jail. And if the commissioners will pay for this out of contractual services in a special meeting, then it would just be a clean process. Yes, you're
Then
right.
we can at least take the 7,000 or whatever out of Cume jail to the transfer. That can be done at any time, but the important thing is get this bill paid now.
Correct.
I agree.
And if the commissioners have a special meeting, it could happen tomorrow. They can then do an approval and just do a claim voucher for the total amount to Stanley at the time, tomorrow or however soon they can get together. But there has to be 48-hour notice for a special session, so,
There we go.
There's a possibility we can have it done Friday.
yes.
All right, let me get together.
Moving on.
Hopefully this one's a lot easier than that. This is a request to pay for some mesh totes that we bought for the jails, for the inmates. They, in the past, had plastic totes that they would keep their property in, their cells. Those became a haven to make hooch or prison wine, whatever you want to call it. We were having constant problems with that. Some of the jailers had mentioned these, I believe. Michelle has some of these back at Community Corrections. We bought those through Bob Harker, and for a cost that we bought 200 of those for a cost of $4,081.11. But thus far, we have had no hooch since that. So obviously with the population, which we had 151 as of this morning, who knows what's happening tonight, we do not want drunk inmates in our jailers to.
Since you're on your numbers of the jail, how many DOCs you got? None?
How many DOCs?
We had 2 or 3 that got sentenced today. I would say maybe a good guess would probably be 8, 9, 10, something like that.
So that's not paying off for us like it was brought to us last year then, basically, so not yet anyhow.
And we'll get it, the last part of that, I'll
Okay.
get into that a little more. So that's the purpose of the totes. They're mesh, they holes in them, they can't make their hooch in them. So as I say that, they're over there figuring out a way to make hooch in them right now, but it's just how they do. They have nothing but time to think of
Get a
new
patent.
ways to.
Get a patent on it.
Yes, yes.
I'll make a motion to transfer the $4,081.11
Make a
from
motion on the
miscellaneous
other
funds
two.
to the budget line.
Take the other one. The
Second.
other one.
It might, I'm gonna put the other one right with it too.
Okay, and I'll second that one.
$12,112.50.
Yep.
Okay, well, here's the issue with that one. Is that, yeah.
What was this
Yeah,
again,
the-
12,000?
Yeah, the one for the mats that we talked about.
Yeah, if you'll notice the date on that, that was actually submitted July 2nd, which was already past the deadline for our 10-day advertising for any additionals, so we were not able to get this put in the newspaper for notice as required by DLGF, so this has to wait till the August 4th meeting.
I just wanted you guys to be aware of it. And those are for the mattresses. For mattresses.
Yes.
And I spoke with several of you, everybody that answered the phone and called me back. For mats that they sleep on, we had to make sure I clarify that because this morning we were just talking that maybe thought they were floor mats or something. They're mats they sleep on. We were getting a lot of complaints, not only from the inmates, from family outside, but my boy's mat has a hole in it. It's, we're having some mold issues, so obviously, population the way it is, it's not something we wanted to give them fresh, nice mats, comfy mats to sleep on, but it was something that it was a necessity, so. And the initial, I think when I talked to some of you, the initial cost was gonna be about 16. We shopped around, got it down to 12 for the 125, so I'll bring that back next month.
Okay.
Just want to make you aware. Last thing, sorry to be long-winded and go through all this. The last is the annual jail report.
Let's finish
Wait,
this.
wait, wait.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I thought you voted on the floor. I'm sorry.
So you got a motion, it's been seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Now you can.
All right, sorry about that. The last thing is the annual jail report. This is something that Zach prepares each year. And I'll just go through it. You guys can ask questions as you go. Obviously, the first page is the statute requesting the annual report. Second page, not a lot's changed with housing information. Still have 114 available beds. Nothing has changed on that at all. So everything's still the same as it was last year. We'll get to population on the next page. Wait for the sirens to stop. As you can see, in 2014, the admissions were down to 970 from the previous year's 1043. Some of that is due to the seriousness of the crimes that people were charged with. We weren't getting a lot of, and you'll see that on charging information here on the next few pages. We're not getting so much of the public intoxications and minor thefts, the charges are going up. We're getting dealing charges, possession of paraphernalia, which entails the needles. So we're taking in more serious criminals, so that has went down. I would wager to guess that admissions is maybe going to go up just because of the intake this year thus far. The average daily population, as you see at the bottom, is at 124 for last year. Zach estimated thus far this year it's at 138, and I can't remember the last time we were under 140. So that is due to the drug task force that they have going. The task force Connersville, that's been in operation since October, is still going, but in a much more scaled down version. But those numbers have spiked quite significantly this year. And that's, the next page is average daily population. As you can see, that breaks it down by month. There's some information in there about the level 6 felons. That is not meeting what we thought thus far with the level 6 felons. A lot of the level 6 felons are getting some time served in their cases. Some of them, due to the population of the jail the way it is, we are unfortunately not able to hold as many DOC prisoners because we have to keep the population down. So when they're sentenced, we try to get them out. If we can get the numbers down, we'll be able to keep more DOC and make some more money. But the task force, we spiked at 158, my second month in office. So as you're trying to learn the job, and then you have all that to deal with as well. So luckily, we were able to get some out, but that is where things are right now. Department of Correction money earned last year was $146,405, down a little bit from the previous year, which obviously doubled from 2012. 2013 was $154,385.
And it sounds like it's going to be down this year too from that, right?
Yeah, thus far, and that's disappointing for us, and I know you guys as well. But like I said, we've had to make some changes in the jail as far as, we usually work with just 3 officers, 1 that works control and 2 on the floor. When we have spiked over 150 and stayed over 150 for a few days, we have increased our minimum jail officers to 4. That has raised some jail overtime as well. Luckily, we are in a position to make that work because we had some senior officers that left early on at the end of 2014-15, so we had a little money to play with there, but the safety of the officers is my primary concern. You know, they're doing a job for a very low wage, as we've talked about, and I know everybody in this room is concerned about that, but to go in there with 150 inmates, and majority of them are in on some serious stuff, and we have increased that to 4, and 4 is still not sufficient. So we're making best with what we have. Charging statistics, 2014 DUIs took back over from theft. It always kind of flip-flops. As you see, possession of paraphernalia is the biggest spike and continues to rise. Went from 74 to 148 to 173, and that is possession of paraphernalia, and that charging information is due to needles, and that's why I believe we'll be having a needle exchange program meeting coming up soon. So the task force has brought in several of those individuals this year, and their top charge from the task force this year has been possession of paraphernalia with a hypodermic needle. So I would wager to guess that that number is going to increase as well. Staffing, we go through that. We still have the need for 6 additional officers. That was in our budget request for this year. That is not due to the population increase. That is the recommendation from the state jail inspector because of how our jail's set up. We're supposed to have 2 on each pod, 1 in booking, control, and then officers to be on the floor. We have 19 jail officers, and 3 jail officers in our jail have over 2 years experience right now. So that work in the jail every day. So we have a very young staff, and I say this, and I was a jailer, Zach was my corporal when I was in the jail. I will say I think we have the best jail staff that we've ever had. And the youth is a good thing because they're eager, they want to learn, they're getting involved in things. Everything that we've dealt with this year in the jail, I've been really pleased with how they've handled things. For such a young crew, they're doing a great job. Skip over to transports. Last year mileage was 55,000 between DOC facilities. That is increased in the way it is because we do not house DOC prisoners anymore, so they don't come down and get them. We have to take them to them. And thus far, Ryan has been to DOC, what, 8 or 9 times already?
15.
So he is, Ryan Young's our transport officer, so I would expect the mileage to increase there as well. Overtime last year was down a little bit from the previous year, was at 18,115. I can tell you that we are above that already this year, thus far. So, and Dale and I have had a conversation or two about that already. So, and like I said, luckily we have some money to play with. Some of the officers, senior officers had left, and obviously a difference in wage. So, and that's just, we're making do with what we have. We're trying to keep that, and as soon as we get that population back down, we're taking that away. We're taking the 4 minimum and going back to 3. So we stay on top of that as much as possible. Medical statistics, 2014, 99,933. So that was a decrease from 113,602 the previous year. You can probably wager to guess this year where it's going with the increased population. So we're continuing to negotiate contracts. I had submitted some bills that we were getting from the emergency group that used to be at Fayette Regional, Schumacher Group, and had submitted some of those. We were having some issues with them accepting what we are supposed to pay, and I submitted those to Mr. Appel to negotiate with them and inform them of the statute and what we were required to pay. Jail kitchen, as you can see, last year they served 136,000 meals. That is going to be up this year. More inmates, more meals. There has been some changes in what we are to serve. At breakfast, we are now required to serve them a juice, milk, and coffee every morning. All 3, no choice, you get all 3. So that changes. The dietitians at the hospital help us to put together the menu. Requested that we put that on there. So we do good with what the jail, like I said, I told you guys that before. I eat in the jail, the food's good, so there's no complaints there. And it's at a pretty low price. As you can see there, it said $2.20 a meal, and that's, wager to guess that may even be lower than that. But programs and services, we are increasing those. I know you've talked to Michelle about her TANF grant. We're going to start the Inside Out Dad program within our jail here in the next few months. Training on that should begin here in the next few weeks. We have the Climb Recovery that just started. They are in the 2nd week of a 12-week program. Several different churches and pastors have reached out since I've been in office, and we're trying to increase that because we want them to find their way and stay out of there. So the more we can help along the way and help them conquer their addiction, the hope is that they'll get better and our population will go down. GD program's been the same. Miss Dickerson, Lori Dickerson comes in, has done this program for free for a long time for us. Huge asset to us. Church services, as you see, I already talked about that. Addiction counseling, Dale Richmond takes care of that for us. Dale is a big asset as well. He's in a few times a week and as much as we can accommodate him. Last section here is the maintenance projects. We had several issues that have been brought to us by the state jail inspector. We have addressed a few of those. The inmate showers, we have taken care of. There was an issue with one of those. The commissioners and Mr. Winter came through and did a walkthrough at the beginning of the year. They've seen some of the issues that we have. We did address that. Jail communications, we just bought new radios for our jail officers. They were having issues going back in the blocks, not being able to get out at all. We purchased some new 400 megahertz radios that are digital and very, very nice. We tested those out, went everywhere in the jail, opposite ends of the jail, the basement, every nook and cranny in the place where they get out. So jailers are ecstatic with the equipment. It has been a morale boost and obviously helps with safety. Painting, if any of you have come over to visit the front, not the back. Back's painted too, but we painted the lobby and we've painted the administration side. We've painted all the hallways in the jail, the booking area, and cell blocks will be next. But obviously that's not just something you just go back here and start painting. We don't want to turn them loose with a paintbrush either. So. Jail monitoring system, that is the Stanley thing that we started out with, the Stanley security issue. As you see, the reboot, when that system would go out and they would get locked back in a block, it would take 5 minutes to reboot. So they are stuck in the block with however many inmates, 20, 25 inmates, and the Stanley upgrade has taken care of that. We've not had that issue, so that was of the utmost concern for me as coming in office. The last thing,
Stanley upgrade, was that tied to new computers? Was it something separate?
The Stanley upgrade.
Does it work on your computer system?
Yes, when the touch screen, I don't know who's seen how the jail operation works or the computer system. It's all touch screen. Back when we started, it was you pushed a button and usually had to push it 2 or 3 times because it's an older system, but it's all touch screen. I don't know how to operate it, neither does he. We were talking about that the other day. It had already moved on, so I've offered to help in the jail. I'm like, if you train me, I'll help you as much as I can, but it's new. It's a very nice system, and it going down like it was, this upgrade's taking care of it. So, I was concerned at first because we had a few newer jailers that were about ready to quit on us because they were getting a little nervous getting locked back in them blocks. So far, no issues with the upgrades. Everything's been good. That's our annual jail report. Do you guys have any questions or concerns?
Joe, I just got a question about the jail inspector. If you don't take care of these problems, and I'm sure they're going to get on you sooner or later for overpopulation, what actually did they make you do? Did they make you transfer them out to another facility, or what? And then that would cost us more. That would cost us money.
Well, this didn't come from the jail. Last time the jail inspector was here was not an actual visit. He just came to touch base with all the new sheriffs, and we discussed our overpopulation. He told me that I should call the Sheriff's Association attorney about our overpopulation and see what his recommendation was. And he was getting to the, and we luckily got it back down pretty quick within a few weeks, but he was getting to the point of recommending that we ship some out, which we're going to incur costs. Wayne County has the space, but we're probably talking at least $35 a day unless they want to give us a discount, but I don't know that they're going to do that. So yeah, we've tried to talk as much as we can with the officers about different arrests and what to do in those, instances. If it's something that we can cite them in the court, we've been trying to do, but the majority of the things that they're coming across, our road division, I'm very proud of our road division. Our road division's taken off, and I don't mean this as anything negative towards the task force. They've taken almost as much heroin off the task force themselves, and I'm very proud of that. It's just, and now I'm on the opposite end. I was the guy out busting the drug dealers before, and when Billy'd say, you need to slow down, there's too many. Well, now I see it. So it's a great thing. We all want a clean community. We want drugs off the street. It's just, it's what we got to deal with.
I just wondered if they put the pressure on you yet about the overpopulation, about that, and what that does, and that money will mount up real quick.
Yeah, Yeah, and there's some things that we've discussed. He's recommended in the past a pony study to be done about with the criminal justice system within. It's a free thing that can be done to investigate where the issues are, if there's a lag within our department or wherever else. So it's something that I think eventually we're going to have to look into. Just, I mean, if this continues to, and the task force is going to operate. You know, I would sit here and be lying if I said I hope Leonard doesn't go over to the task force and do a great job. That's why we're putting him in there. I don't want him to twiddle his thumbs like we talked about earlier. I want him to arrest people.
Right.
Just going to be what we deal with afterwards. So, and maybe looking into that pony study may be an option to see where because I mean, you know, to get DOC back, we'd have to stay at 80% of capacity to even get that work way past that point.
Okay.
Any other questions? I feel like I've taken up way too much of your time. So.
Well, that was a very good and comprehensive report you fellows put together.
All Zach, I'm just the
I couldn't have done better myself, Zach.
He stole it from another agency. Let's be honest.
Get the budget out of you.
Well, you can do your own homework, Russ.
I ain't supposed to. You're the chief.
Budget guru.
You're the budget guru.
Graham Kuba.
Thanks, Joey.
Yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Sheriff.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not used to it either. Kathy, you're probably just waiting to stretch your legs.
Hopefully this is short. Thank you. I goofed the first time, had put the request on an additional, and it's not an additional. I've never done the transfer before. So I have before you, I'm respectfully requesting, the first one, the transfer request, it's the one for $322. Debbie Coleman in our office, she has obtained her level 3. She did it last year, it became effective. And I attached the codes with this too. This year, the legislation, they made it that if the county assessor does not have the level 3, then they need to have someone hired in the office or have someone in the office with a level 3. And she has a level 3, so 2, when you have a level, you're required to go to 45 hours of training within a 2-year period. And by becoming a deputy, and she's taken, it takes like a 5-week commitment to get your level 3, and then to go to these classes. So, and she gets reimbursed once she's a deputy. She can go ahead and get reimbursed for any mileage, or if she has to stay in classes or for meals. And that's why I'm requesting a transfer from the assessment, the assessing services line item to her salary line item. And that $322, Kathy told me that's what the second deputy gets paid for the year.
Can handle both of these at the same time. Yeah.
Yes, well, what it is too, you know, if you do grant that, I appreciate it very much. But if you don't, then the $500 doesn't matter. But once you become a level, well, a deputy, you're also entitled, when I attach that, it's the shall, you get a $500, it's not a part of your salary, it's like something we get paid in November. Usually November, it's just a separate check that's paid out to anybody with a level.
I'll make a motion that we take that transfer request from 322 and $322 and $500.
I'll second it.
We have a motion to approve the transfer request in the amount of $500 and $322. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to support the approval of the transfer.
Okay, patron concerns.
I'll just say something real quick. It won't be, but I just want to call your attention to the fact we're having our Whitewater River cleanup again this year. The unique addition to it is we're going to have a medicine cabinet clean out also. People flush those things down the toilet, they get into the river too. So from noon to 3, we're inviting people to come to bring anything that's in the medicine cabinet. And a lot of people don't really do that every day at the sheriff's office or the police station. They have those boxes that are taken, but this will help probably draw people's attention to it. And the sheriff, one of the sheriff's representatives will be there to take the, so people are hanging their clothes. So come on down.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Everything signed down there, Mr. Flom?
No, everything's not signed, I think those last two.
The last two were transfers and do not require.
I think everything's signed.
Okay.
Are you sure?
I don't know.
Make a
I'll
motion to
entertain a
adjourn.
motion to continue this. Oh, adjourn.
Yes.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Does anybody ever oppose that?
Hey.